Right now, I have next to me Owen Grant, and we also have Patrick Doyle with me. And they are from Ridgeline Energy, and they're producers of wind equipment. What do you do exactly?
Well, we are developers of wind projects.
Projects, okay.
Wind and also solar projects. But let's talk about wind. We identify an area that has a windy resource that is close to transmission and where the landowners and the community are interested in taking advantage of the benefits of the wind energy that they have that they're not using.
Now, how much wind do we have around here? I mean, some people get pretty windy, but, we need more wind than that. So how much wind do we have in New York State?
I think that New York State probably has enough wind to generate 8,000 megawatts, which let's say is about 10% of the electricity consumed in the state. So the state could get 10% of its electricity from wind without too many big issues.
Now, is this something that you would do? You set up these wind farms. Now, you're project manager, so you kind of develop the project. Is that what you do? I mean, what does a project manager do?
Sure. So, as Patrick said, the first component is to find a windy area, ideally very close to a transmission line, an appropriate size transmission line. And then, we would work with the local community and with the landowners to try to design a project and then go through an environmental and local permitting process. The state has some regulations to regulate all development, but you have to make sure that the project will not have an adverse impact on the environment, whether there be wetlands or birds, for example. So, we work through and do a lot of studies and work with the local communities to make sure that the project is a good fit, and then we would proceed on to construct the project if it works.
So what you need to do is you need to approach the community about putting in a wind farm. I mean, we call them a wind farm, right?
Right.
How much acreage does one wind farm take?
Yeah, so we like to have 100 acres of ground space for one wind turbine. That's very conservative, but it does allow for roads and wetlands and so on and so forth. So about 100 acres of airspace. Now, each wind turbine, when you include the road that you need to access that turbine, takes up maybe about an acre and a half of space on the ground.
Okay.
So about 100 acres of airspace, but about 1 acre on the ground.
Well, that's not a lot of...
No, it's not. And what it means is that most farmers, I would say 95% of farmers, love wind energy because it's another crop. They get the royalty from the wind turbines without having to invest their own resources. And they can pretty much farm as they always farmed.
All right.
Right.
Well, and I must say, I lived in Kansas for a number of years, and it was not uncommon to drive down the road and see a wheat field with a derrick going in the middle of it.
Right.
So this is no different to me, and it would be less intrusive into in other words, you have to worry about an oil spill or anything like that.
So if you look at why are we doing wind energy, we need electricity. If you take our electricity away for 5 minutes, it bothers us.
Yeah, a little bit, huh?
So no one is about to give up their electricity.
Right.
But yet we're adding, even during the recession, 100,000 homes worth of consumption of electricity every year in New York. So we need more electricity. So where is that going to come from? And how can we have the least impact? So with wind, it's renewable. So the energy you consume today, you can still consume tomorrow
Is it
and
stored
next year.
like solar? That do you use batteries to store it, or because I mean it may be really windy today and mild tomorrow, but is all that energy that you were able to create today, can you store that?
Well, so there are storage technologies that are being developed, including here at GE in Schenectady.
You use like cells? Is that,
yes,
yeah.
but they're not really at a point where they can be used at a utility scale.
Oh, okay.
But how it works is that I'd mentioned that wind could be 10% of our electricity. So wind will fit in very nicely with all the other existing forms of generation. So the grid always has, for example, 100...
So it augments it.
Right.
Okay.
And so when the wind blows, you're not burning gas, you're not burning oil, you're not burning coal. You're not polluting. You're reducing the amount of drilling and transportation of fossil fuels that you have to do. So when you can use the wind or the sun, you should use it. And then when it's not blowing, of course, then you can burn your gas
You
or
can
your
always,
oil.
use that as a backup, like a
Right.
hydro where we're using the water.
Yes, and hydro does have storage capabilities because at nighttime you pump the water up into a lake on top of a mountain, and then during the day
It comes down.
you let it flow down, and you run the machines as turbines during the day and as pumps at night. So there are ways to store electricity, but wind is about 10%, and so we really don't need to store that wind because the grid itself can accommodate.
It's going to keep
right.
coming.
Yes.
How do you see the impact of wind energy on jobs, the job market? I mean, is this going to create? I mean, granted, these things are going all by themselves, but will we create a lot of jobs through this?
Right. So Owen is working, for example, on a 20 megawatt project with about 6 turbines, and he can maybe talk about the number of construction jobs that would be created in that year of construction.
Sure. So during construction of the project, you might see 70 to 100 people working on site and in bringing materials into the project and working in moving the earth to.
So this is all local economy.
Yeah, into the regional economy, sure.
Yeah.
And then during the operation of the project, one of the nice things about a wind project is that the wind creates the electricity, right? So you don't really, you would have a few people to do the operation and maintenance, but nowadays the turbines are pretty advanced technology, so some of the turbines that we're looking at would require one scheduled maintenance session for 4 days, 4 days a week, and occasionally you would have people, if necessary, somebody might come clean blades, for example, and rappel down the rotor, from the rotor down the blade and hand wash them. So there's a variety of...
There's maintenance involved, yeah.
Yeah, there is maintenance involved, but I think also there's ancillary economic activity, and that's something that we don't necessarily quantify that and claim that in terms of number of jobs created, but we know from experience experience that have host communities have shared that we've seen the diner has expanded, and there's a lot more economic activity.
And then if you're
in the
giving, like if the farmers are putting their stuff out there, I mean, they're growing their crops, but they're also getting revenue from having the wind.
Right. So the revenue to a landowner from one large wind turbine could be $10,000 or more a year.
And they're going to put that money back into the community.
They will put that money straight back. So. Project of the size that Owen has been talking about, which is 20 megawatts, it's enough for about 7,000 homes. A project like that will put $400,000 to $500,000 a year into the community, straight into the community, whether it's to the town, the school, or the county, whether it's in royalties to the landowners, or whether it's in, payments to the operation and maintenance folks, as well as just buying supplies in the regional area. So. $500,000 a year, up to $500,000 a year is that's a good economic development for a rural community in upstate, and it goes on every year. Every year that the project operates, there's about $500,000 a year coming into that community.
If someone is watching right now and is interested in this, how would they contact you?
Well, they can go on our website, ridgelineenergy.com, and send us an email.
Okay.
We have an office.
And this is a national company to begin with. It's out in Seattle, I believe.
That's right. Our headquarters are in Seattle. We have an office about 20 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And then we're doing work mainly on the West Coast and on the East Coast. Solar
so
and
we
wind.
need to get on track here and try and get some more wind energy. And perhaps you want to talk to your community, talk to people, kind of talk up the idea of wind energy, and it will revitalize maybe your economy and your community. If you talk to these gentlemen, they might be able to give you some guidance. Thank you so much for being here, Patrick and Owen.
Thank you,
It's
Erin.
been a pleasure to talk to both of you, either before the show and here, because your information is wonderful.
Well, thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, please come again.
All right, thank
keep
you.
Us,
Look
keep
forward
us
to it.
informed at how things are going.
All right, we'll do.
I'd like to keep on track with that. So.
Okay, thank you.